Coach, can you start us off some opening comments?
Yeah, really excited about this class. We're able to address our needs at every position. A lot of credit goes out to our staff, what they were able to do, not only capitalizing off the momentum of the Egg Bowl in the early signing period, but also addressing some needs in this. So really proud of our staff. Anytime that we started where we started and end up around the top 25 in the recruiting rankings, I think it's just a credit to the staff and the job they were able to do. So just kind of going down the list, I was going to kind of address it by position. So I thought quarterback, huge to be able to get a mid-year quarterback in, and Matt Corral, he's on campus right now and in classes doing a great job. Running back, it was big that we had to replace Jordan, so we got Scotty Phillips, #1 junior college running back in the country, and then I'm very pleased with Isaiah Woolard. He looks great, and I think he's going to do some really good things. I thought Coach Peeler did an awesome job of really selling the momentum of the NWO and the nasty wideouts. We're in the mix of several of the top wide receivers in the country, and we're able to get 3 of them. Getting Miles Battle was huge. That was a big get for us. DeMarcus is already on campus, and then Elijah gives us that slot receiver that's maybe a little bit smaller and quicker, so we'll be able to use him in the screen game and some return game. So really pleased with that. Needed to replace Durante and Rod on the offensive line. We're able to do that with some size. Hamilton Hall and Jalen Cunningham are big guys. They're 330 plus big guys. Going to be physical in the run game. Probably the steal of the class is Tylen Knight. Everywhere I went in the state of Mississippi, this kid's the best player in the state. This kid's the best player in the state. If we pick the Mississippi-Alabama game over again, this guy will be picked first. State champion, MVP of the Miss Al game. Just a kid I'm very excited about. We had a lot of discussions in our staff meeting similar to what we did when we had Dexter McCluster. And this kid, I think, is a dynamic player, and I'm really excited about him. Defensively, on the defensive line, I think it was important for us to add size, and we definitely did that with Noah. He is a big guy that can anchor in the middle. Quentin, KD, and Hal we got at mid-year, and also James. So really we're able to address the need of size at that position. So really proud of that. Much documented that we needed help at linebacker. We were able to get some length and some size at linebacker. I thought that some length and some athleticism. We have 3 6'4" plus linebackers. And I thought that was huge to get some size and get some big guys that can grow into big SEC linebackers. So really pleased with that. Cavante Ruggs was a guy that when I kept hearing about Tylen Knight on the Mississippi side of the Miss Al game, Cavante Ruggs was just the same on the other side. Running down, making plays, physical guy, and really pleased with him. Luke Knox showed up on our visit, and I'm remembering Luke when he was like 6'3", 180, and he showed up and he's 6'3", 217, running 4'6" or 4'7". I think he's a guy that can be really special. So really excited about Luke. Ja'Cory Hawkins, super athlete, and then rounding out with Kedron and Cam. But just top to bottom, we're able to address a bunch of needs with this class, and really excited.
All right, raise your hand if you have a question. Bring the microphone to you. All right, who wants to go first? All right, we'll start in the middle.
Just top to bottom, looking at the class, can you point out one player who can come in and make a difference right away?
Well, I think anytime you look at it, the one that jumps to my mind is Scotty Phillips, just because of having to replace Jordan Wilkins. I think that's the one that just pops in your mind. But so I think that was a big need for us.
Questions?
Matt, you got 6 guys on campus already that you signed. Could you just talk about what you've seen so far, strength and
We
what
haven't
they've
been
done?
here for much of it because we've been on the road recruiting, but they are in the weight room with Paul Jackson and getting really good reports. And obviously we can't be out there with them when they got a ball, but I think they are throwing with the receivers. I think the guys have been impressed with Matt Corral's arm, and just hearing the receivers talk about it. So yeah, but really happy with those guys, and excited that they're here.
How many players do you have still on the board that have not signed anywhere yet?
Well, I mean, we're hoping to add a couple of grad transfers. You can't comment on that, but we do hope to add a couple.
Matt, in your career, you've recruited under all kind of circumstances. the circumstances that you had to work with this year, how big a detriment or how big an effect did it have on the recruiting based, the penalties and all that stuff?
Our staff, we just stayed so positive and so excited. We just went out and sold Ole Miss, and I thought that was what we did a really, really good job of. I think people can say yes or no, did it affect it, did it not, but we filled our needs, and the kids that are here are excited about coming, and I thought our staff did a great job.
Coach, when the sanctions came down a few months back, a lot of people kind of counted the Rebs out and said that you guys just needed to focus on 2019 and figured this class you might scrap together a few players here and there. Now you're sitting top 30, hoping to make a little bit of a later push this afternoon. What do you think that says to recruits for next year, that you guys were able to make such a push that a lot of people didn't suspect?
Yeah, that was one of the questions I got throughout the whole season was, what about recruiting? What about recruiting? I mean, we were able to just keep those relationships right there, and when all the uncertainty went away, we were in great position with a lot of players. And I think Ole Miss sells itself. And I think if we get a young man on campus, we're going to have an opportunity to sign him. And but again, a great job by our staff, getting out there and selling those relationships. And obviously, for me, when I'm going into the living room, it's very easy for me to sell Ole Miss because I think people can see the sincerity that you have when you sit down and say, hey, this is my dream job. This is what I want to do. This is my vision for the program. I think they can relate to that.
What was the biggest adjustment that popped out to you after, the early signing period and it being the first one and this being the first signing day with that?
Yeah, it is different because it makes this day a little bit less, when you sign almost, double in the first signing period. But it does give you the ability, okay, this is what we didn't get, this is what we need to go focus on. But again, I think overall I didn't think it was that big of a difference but again, being the first time, we'll learn a little bit. But again, next year we'll try to finish our whole class on the front end.
Questions?
Matt, I know next year you signed 2 offensive linemen in this class. I believe 2 last class. It's going to put a lot of pressure on next year. What are your numbers looking like for the offensive line next year?
Yeah, I think we'll probably end up signing 5 next year, potentially 4, depending upon how it goes. But 4 or 5 for sure next year. And tackle will be a big area of need because we got several guys leaving. You got to plan for potentially Greg. So you got to replace some tackle. So tackle will be an area of need because we really got guards in this class. So tackle will be a big area of need next season.
Does getting bigger on defensive line indicate any kind of style changes or schematic changes, or you just wanted to get bigger?
No, just my overall viewpoint is, to win in this league, you got to be able to run the ball and stop the run. So again, you see that in offense and defensive lines in the signing class getting bigger guys, and I mean, that's a big point of emphasis for us moving into the season is in the spring ball is let's stop the run, let's run the ball. So that's why you see some of the size the way you do.
We've heard so much about the 19 class. Is there enough guys in Mississippi to fill out your entire class? Man, I know it won't probably work out that way, but
again, our recruiting philosophy will always start in Mississippi, and that's what we're going to do. And there's several good players. Whether or not can it fill out the entire class, but there's several really, really good players in the 19 class.
Talk about the importance of the kicking game, the return game with Elijah Moore and now Tylen Knight, what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, no, just a little bit different style of athlete than we've had in the past. We've had the bigger receivers, that could win the one-on-one balls, but to now have some guys that are a change-up, that are what we call phone booth guys, change of direction guys. I think they will add a dimension to us in the return game. Potentially some speed sweeps, some shorter screens, let them get the ball in the open field. And obviously the return game is now a chance for a big play, not just a fair catch all the time, but a chance to make a big play in the return game. So excited about them.
Continuing on Tylen, he was equally effective on both sides of the ball. You're projected him. I know Derek wants him in the running back room, and the DBs want him. Has there been any talk about DB?
Yeah, we've talked about, we've looked at him at nickel, at returner, at running back, maybe at some slot. I think he's very, very versatile, but, you know, for his size, he is really, really physical. I mean, that's what you saw in the Miss Al game. You know, you saw him in the state championship, like, well, I'm not sure. Then he goes out in the Miss Al game and does the same thing. And, you know, so the kid can play. It's just, you know, we got him on the bus. Now we just got to find the right seat.
You mentioned Woolard earlier. What you said he impressed you? What's impressed you so far?
I mean, he's just a tremendous kid, tremendous work ethic, and just the way he carries himself. He's just got a look about him that you know he's got a chance to be special. So I'm really, really excited about him.
You touched on Coach Peeler a bit. This is your first full recruiting cycle watching him, you know, go to work. What did you notice and what made him so successful?
You know what? I just think he is he's very thorough, he's very organized, and he just does a good job and was able to capitalize on the momentum we had coming out of the season with our passing game and our receivers. And I think there's a lot to sell there. I just thought he did a great job of building relationships and again, having several opportunities with a lot of the top wide receivers in the country. I just thought he did an outstanding job.
Matt, following up on that, Freddie Roach also, when he was hired, was kind of billed as an up-and-comer or kind of a rising star in recruiting. What did you see in him in this cycle?
Just, you know, I think kids gravitate to him. His energy is contagious. He's always got a lot of energy, but also he's very thorough and organized as well. And then he has that he has the it factor with the energy. So I think that's always important. You know, when you walk into a room, he can capture the room and capture their attention pretty easy.